Hello everyone, I'm Andrius Smaliukas, the General Manager of Baltpool, and I'm happy to welcome you to this event in which we will present you the overview of last heating season, organizational things, so please be informed that the event will be recorded, and so that we could share this recording later with participants who could not participate at this time. And also another technical aspect that all the questions to the speakers can be submitted over Slido site, and here you can see the connection details. So you need to go to slido.com and enter this code 3261301. We will share this connection details also later, but you can connect already if you will have any questions for presenters. So today we will have 3 speakers. First of all, Vaidotas, my colleague, will the head of trading. He will share insights how the last season looked like. Later, I will share with you our plans for further development of the trading system and the rules. And then we will ask and invite Igors Krasavcevs. He will share the insights of the current market situation in all 3 Baltic states. So, without any further ado, I invite Vaidotas for the first presentation.
Everyone, I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you for joining. It is my first presentation for our foreign clients because we just big turn in this year. So thank you very much for joining. I'm very proud to be here, and my presentation will be about the Baltic market overview, but it will be like a bit soft presentation, not very figures, because we don't have a lot of historical data from the Estonian and Latvia. And I would like to speak about in general principles about the trading of commodity and what happened last year before the heating season. So my first slide is about technical slide. It is generated by the ChatGPT. So I just want to explain how we need to understand how is it determined a price for the long-term contracts. So usually in any commodity, is it oil, gas, whatever, lumber, future price contract consists of the 3 main parts. First part is a spot price in a spot market. We everyone know what is a spot price, and I don't explain you better. But second one is cost of carry. Cost of carry is storage costs, financing costs, insurance costs of commodity. So it is normally not very difficult to calculate that. It's not a big problem to ensure that parameter. The third parameter is the risk premium, and that parameter is the most difficult in the determining of the long-term contract. So it is parameter of the volatility of underlying asset. Volatility is calculated by the statistic models. It's very difficult to do that. Length of the contract, market conditions, model of and assumptions of the situation. So that is like a very difficult part of the determining of the long term. And I just want to say that these 3 moments is very important for the long-term contract price. So looking back, at the beginning of in the September, we have to remember the situation in the market. In Lithuania, we have a saying: "If I would be so smart like Lithuanian after time," meaning that we are very smart after the today, looking backward into the September and saying that I would be manage something enough, like did you, for example, your competitor or whatever. But I would want to make a remark what happened in the September last year. So that was the first winter in the war conditions in Ukraine. So nobody knows what will happen in the next winter. I would say that you have to remember such a sentences in the press than German economic ministry said, if we will be lucky, we will survive that year. So unbelievable sentences, and you have to remember that. Second moment was that the sanctions of biomass imports from the Belarus and Russia. Lithuania and Latvia has a huge amount of import from Belarus. Estonia was less infected by the Belarus, or maybe there is no import from the Belarus, but it's very important parameter to that model. The third moment is gas price for that period. The price was 250, 350. If you remember that Medvedev Twitter's sentences that he sent, then Russia will freeze all the Europe in the next winter. So I remember that. The fourth one is reduced psychological pressure due to the COVID epidemic. It is a very important moment because all the commodities prices increased. If you remember that period after the COVID, and all the prices, metals, I don't remember now, it was the oil, but all the materials what we use in every day. So everything increased enormously. So the timber, the lumber was in the same row like all these commodities in exchanges and so on. One of the main problem becomes in the market because the import of the Belarus, our local production was very weak. Not maybe very, but for example, Lithuania, and I hope the Latvia was the same situation, then the competition with the Belarus was impossible, and we have a situation then local production was very weak. And the last one was, if you remember, that a situation that wood processing industry was like in a renaissance situation and reached the peaks. All the prices like paper wood and sawlogs, the price levels was historically big. And the rational part of the brains, what it said, that nobody wants to sign long-term contracts because nobody can understand how much will market will be crazy during the winter. And that is the graph of Lithuanian, Latvian, and Estonian price levels. Looking at these figures, we can see that Latvian and Estonian, Lithuanian and Latvian markets, risk premium becomes uncontrollable. Nobody can calculate, and nobody wants to conclude long-term contracts, or maybe they conclude long-term contracts only in an enormous price. If we remember 50, 60 euros per megawatt hour, that situation was a normal price. The different situation was in Estonia, and I think it's a very, very big compliment for that country because they didn't be affected by the Belarus import. So, as I understand, our market was helped by this tool, We call it guillotine. Maybe it's the same guillotine. Maybe it's the same in Latvia and Estonia. Market price activates low value foresters, and the big amount of the forest workers decide to invest into the tools, into the equipment, what can provide to the market timber and biomass materials from the low value agrolands and so on. So I don't know how much it was in Estonia, but I know that in Latvia and Lithuania, only one not friend, but one our market participant who is just a simple company, they sold about more than 100 such tools. Just only one guy from the like a representative of the Finnish company of that guillotine. So that was our I would say our best choice to that situation, and it can organize the market to the right direction. What happened exactly after the September? So the price levels starts to drop down from the peak what was reached on the moment before the heating season. It's a very important moment to understand the emotional moment of the market, because the peak of the market was not in a heating season, but before the heating season, in the first stages of the heating season. So emotional situation in the market absolutely, how to say, it changed. And what we have now, so for example, in April, so societies understand that war is not over, and it's very important to say this moment about the West Europe markets, and I would say that it takes off emotional that part from all the markets. Surplus production of the biomass raw material, because the guillotine was implemented into the market. The warmest winter in the history. It's a very important moment, because in Lithuania we had declining about the 5-6% of the consuming of the biomass. And the last one is changing gas price of in April it was about 40-45 euros per megawatt hour, and today it is about 30. And the rational part, what said the brain's rational part, sellers or suppliers of the biomass decide to rid all the biomass in the market, and the price level drops dramatically down. I would say about 50% from the peak level, and that volatility of the market is a very big moment for the buyers and for the market, but nothing to do. We have to absorb that situation, what happened because the emotions was very high. Excuse me. One of the biggest problem in the market, in such markets like Lithuanian and Latvian market, is to activate local production, because the import from the Belarus, we have a weak production. We had the big production in the market, and we have to restore it. So here is a graph. We decide to create a small model. There is raw materials price. In a x-axis is raw material price in a loose cubic meters in that graph, and in the vertical graph is biomass price with 10% profit margin. So we calculate how to say, we calculate self costs of the supply company, how much they pay for the shipping, for the logistics operations, for the biomass, and with the 10% from the turnover, how much they can sell it into the exchange, into the market. So that corridor, what is draw in that white area, is a limit how we understand we have to how to say, we would like to that market don't turn from that corridor, meaning that if, for example, price level of the biomass in exchange drops down more than 24 euros per megawatt hour, that means that in a raw material market, suppliers can't pay more than 10 euros per loose cubic meter. And what happens after that? It becomes that that market, raw material market, declines, and the raw material competition is becoming lower. The other part of the corridor is price level is about 33. At that price level, suppliers can pay about 16 euros per loose cubic meter. It is very good price for the suppliers, for the raw material suppliers, but I would say it's a bad price for the consumers of the heat, because the bills of the heat service increase too much, and it becomes a problem for the politics, for the regulators, and everyone wants to change the market. For example, in what happens in Lithuania, politics decide to order a state forest company to provide wood chips with a regulated price to the market. It's quite impossible, but that decision was made. So I would say that we would like that the price corridor would be between the 24 and 32. At that price levels, raw material business are profitable and competitive. The last slide about the signals for the next year. We don't have very good models for the forecasts for next year price, but I put here prices for the firewood, and in all the countries, Estonia, and Lithuania, and Latvia, and draw in that graph black line of the biomass price in Lithuania, because I have a lot of information about the historical information about the Lithuania, so it was easiest way to explain you what I want to say. So that shape of the graph, if you would look at the graph, so there is a different measurements. Firewood is euro per megawatt per cubic meter. Biomass is like euros per megawatt hour. It's a different measurement, but the shape of the graph is the same, meaning that we can, looking at this graph, we can just only geometrically calculate the price level for the next year. So at the moment in Lithuania we have about 55 euros per cubic meter in a state forest company. It is official price, and looking at this price level, I can geometrically draw that biomass should cost about 32, 33. And it's a price, but the same level we have in exchange for the long-term contracts for the next heating season, because market understand that level would be profitable enough to work for the next week, for next heating season. I would say that you can draw your own figures on that graph, on that slide, and you can, like a very easy, not very easy, very maybe it's not very smart decision or principle, not very smart principle to forecast the price, but it is like a first step for the next for the forecast, for the prognosis for the next heating season. Next important factors for the coming season, I would say it is, and factors what can increase the price, is very important moment for my understanding is slowdowning of the wood processing industry, what reduce waste of wood, and slowing cuttings in a private forest, because it is like a very emotional. If a private owner can get 100 euros per saw logs in a forest last year, and he can't get it this year, so he will decide to change his decision for this year, not to cut, to wait better times. So it's very how to say, it's normal, it's very emotional, but it's normal, and usually people follows his behavior from the back and waiting for the best times. Next moment, what can increase the price is new developments in the Baltics. Yesterday, I have heard from the Igors that in Latvia, you are waiting about more than 100 installed power. In Lithuania, we are waiting for the Vilnius cogeneration plant, about 200 installed power in one place. So that will be effect in the market. Import from the Belarus, I think today it's absolutely impossible for the long term, and we have to forget it. And prolonged period for of low price in summer. What I want to say here, today price levels is quite small, like 15 euros in Estonia and 90 euros in Lithuania. This price levels is very low. It looks like that nothing happened this year, and I would say that it's not the best way to forecast that next year will be like a plus 3 euros to summer contract, because today price, I think, is emotional price as well, and it's too low. It's lower than the self cost of the suppliers, and I would say that next. If the buyers decide not to buy for the higher price, that winter could be lost, and sellers decide not to invest into the warehouses of the biomass. Next column is about the factors what reduce the price. Competition in the timber industry is declining because the consumption recession is a huge consumption recession in the market. I don't know how it is in an operational level in every company, in every timber company, but in what I see in Lithuania, our buyers in a timber exchange meaning they operate other exchange, timber exchange. So even big companies decide to terminate a contract with the state forest because the price levels is very high and they can't pay for the long-term contracts what they conclude last winter. Next moment is the very low prices for the natural gas, because the natural gas is a substitute for the biomass in every country, and in every city actually it could be possibly consumed to replace the biomass. So price level of the gas today is at 31, 32 euros per megawatt hour. Of course, plus the logistics of the gas, of course, plus the pollution effect and payings of for the Europe Union. But the prices is very, very low, and it looks like that nobody happens that winter. Next moment is about the Scandinavia. Scandinavia has very similar prices, biomass prices like in Lithuania, and I think they only buying here not because the price, the very low prices, but because only to diversify the logistics chains from the other sides, meaning the import from the Baltics, local production, so on. So they are doing that only for diversification. Yes, low electricity prices in the West Europe reduced the demand for the industrial pellets. It's very important for the Latvian market because the pellet industry is very big, and if the export for the pellets declines, so it will be like a new resource of the biomass. And the last moment, what I want to say, today's biomass level ensures profitability for the raw material supplier. So that means that raw material will be provided in the same amounts like that was in the previous year. Yeah. Next part of my presentation is about the value of the diversification in the market, or in a biomass market. This is my a soft recommendation for all of you. I can explain it only in the figures from the Lithuania, because I have a lot of figures from every buying company. But what I want to say about the diversification. If you would ask advice, investment advice for any advisor, what I have to do, how to invest into any asset class, meaning stocks, real estate, or bonds, whatever. Every investment advisor would say you have to diversify. Diversify meaning that you have to buy products what have a different price, the directions. If, for example, the stock prices increases, so usually bond market is declining, and opposite to that. So the diversification in a biomass market, for my understanding, it's possible to execute it only in one way. You have to manage your portfolio of all the biomass portfolio. You have to divide it into the long-term contracts and the short-term contracts in the spot market, because usually these markets have a different directions of the price. We can't forecast the price direction, but I can assure you that usually these price directions are different. So here is a graph of some cities in Lithuania. Here is that violet column is a difference between the prices last heating season and this heating season. So the smallest one is in Marijampolė, and the biggest one is in Klaipėda. So what is the main different moment? Why there is so big difference of that? It is because the long-term contract, part of the long-term contracts are very different to compare these two cities. Meaning that in Marijampolė we have only about 30% of the long-term contracts. In Klaipėda we have more than 50, about 60% of the long-term contracts. If we would look at the specified company, we would see more the different results of these companies. But whatever, to illustrate the situation, it's quite enough. So my understanding is that The Marijampolė is winner, but they wins it only for success what happens one time in casino and whatever. So they are not very smart. They just win in the market, and this year was like a very lucky for them. But they did it not in a like a very manageable way. They did it. They decided to do that, and they were very lucky. So the same with the Klaipėda. They decide to buy a lot of amount in a long-term contracts. So that was mistake also. So from my understanding, okay, I would show you next slide. Here is a diversification from the 5 biggest buyers in Lithuania. So in the left side, we can see that the smallest price and price level is on a violet line. So the smallest price in the companies, they individually have only short-term contracts. In opposite side, we have biggest price only with the long-term contracts. So if we would see the middle of the violet price, so we would see that the best moment was achieved, then it was balanced between the long price and the short-term contracts. So I would advise you, if it's possible, to conclude, to diversify, not only between the different suppliers, but only with the different length of the contract. It's very important moment from my understanding. Yes, here is the same situation is in a seller's side. So in the top of the on the top the graph is about the biggest suppliers in Lithuania. In the bottom is the smallest one, but we can see the actually the same tendency that the biggest price had these suppliers what have bigger price of the long-term contract. Yes, this is my like a last slide about the figures. Here is different prices in a market, in a spot market. Looking through the month, in October, I take all the figures from the 2016 years, all the figures in October, in November, December, and decide to show you a table in which moment of the heating season the prices are highest in a peak and lowest. So what I want to say, that October usually is the lowest or opposite, is the highest price in the year. It was for me like the most interesting moment that I didn't understand why, and now I don't understand why the October is so important, but we can see that, and we don't have the same year, the same shape, the same situation for the two years in a row. So what I want to say, nobody can forecast prices for the next year. So it's very important moment from my understanding, and I would say that it is only one way to diversify. It's the best way to diversify portfolio and to avoid such a situations like it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and so on. And my absolutely the last slide today is what lessons we learned from the last year. So from my understanding, I want to advise you to create a spot market to your clients, meaning to make a short contracts because to open market for the smaller participants. And spot market don't have a risk premium. Spot market has all informations inside the spot price, and the spot price. I understand that you can maybe it would be the wrong decision, but it will be a decision, and you would achieve any other goals, meaning your portfolio will be diversified. Okay, so the spot market provides another criteria for portfolio diversification. Portfolio price, how I explained in my first slide, is the main part of the risk premium calculation for the long-term contracts. If market is dominated by long-term transactions, the market becomes less competitive for that period, and it creates a super profit. Super profit that it's economical, like economical parameter. What explains that in a market, some participants earns bigger profit than other, and they dominate against other participants. The market for biomass raw material is also a spot market, and you have to understand that if you want a long-term contract, and raw material market is a spot market, so that means that someone has to take that in the middle, that risk of volatility of the market, and usually this volatility of the risk takes the supplier, general supplier of the long-term contract, and usually, and it's normal that he has to evaluate the risk premium of that and take like a price for that. And the last one, what I want to say is the local biomass activation is an expensive task, but it's very important for my understanding, and Estonians are winning in that situation. We have best developed biomass market, local biomass market. It's enough for the country, so it is very important. It's very good for that country. So thank you very much for your attention, and today that was all what I want to say. Thank you very much, and for the next, and we will meet in the next meetings.
Welcome back. Thank you, Vaidotas, for good presentation. Then I would say that Vaidotas told how the market looked like from our perspective, how we see from our trading statistics. Now I want to ask you a few questions about the market on the same platform which I mentioned earlier, Slido. So you can connect if you didn't do that already, and then we can ask first question. And I just remember you that if you have any questions on presentation, so you can also write in Slido platform. We see no questions for Vaidotas, but if you still have some, so you can write anytime and we will provide the answers. Okay, so are we ready for the first question? Yes. First question is regarding SM3 quality wood chips. So both Lithuania and Estonia, they use quite a lot of fuel on SM3 form. So that is wood chips made from forest residues. And it's interesting to hear from you. How do you see the situation in Latvia and both Estonia? Are you see that there are SM3 quality wood chips more used this season compared with previous one, or you see that it's remained at the similar level or even decreased? Okay, so Just let's wait for a few minutes, for a few seconds, okay, not minutes, for the answers. Yesterday we had event for Lithuanian clients, so actually in Lithuania, so most of the answers was that increased usage compared with the previous season. Yes, and there 50-50. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the next question. Maybe it will be more interesting. Then, at least in Lithuania, we see that the price of biomass actually determines how much of forest residues are used for biomass production. So therefore, the question would be, okay, so now we see that a little bit increased, but what the price is necessary of biomass, that means wood chips, that it would be SM3 wood chips would be more popular in the market. That means that private owners of the forest would produce more wood chips from forest residues. So you can choose the price range, like over 25 or over 30 or over 35 or over 40 euros. And also you can choose that, it's not possible to use more SM3 because its boilers are not designed or that it requires too much effort. Yes. This moment seems like, it's only the price which is needed to use more forest residues. And of course, some boilers may be not designed for SM3. Okay. Thank you for comparison with Lithuanians participants. So basically, the price. Also, the question was only the price, and participants said that they required 35 euros per megawatt hour to be able to produce more from forest residues. Another big topic, at least in Vilnius region, in Lithuania, so Vilnius cogeneration plant or Vilnius CHP plant is about to start in next heating season. That means in heating season starting November 2023. And our question is, are you aware of that and are you preparing for this event? Vilnius cogeneration plant will be the biggest in the region, and it will increase the consumption in Lithuania about 20% of wood chips. Okay, so we would like to know if you are aware of that and are you preparing for that? For now, we see that, yes, 50-50. Some are planning to participate in their auctions. Good to know. Some waiting for actual start and then will start additional production. Thank you for your answers. Okay. And now we will go to the slides. Now I will present what we will change in our rules after this heating season to the next heating season, considering the lessons we learned from last season's situations. So, first of all, that's what we already did with mentioned Vilnius cogeneration plant. So we have possibility to fully automate some processes on buyer side to help them execute the contracts. So, for example, it's possible that when you agree on delivery schedule in our system, it's possible to send that data of delivery schedules to buyer's IT system. That, for example, the gates of the area would open only for those vehicles which are which were submitted in the schedule of delivery of wood chips. This way, you fully automate who can enter the area of the buyer, who cannot. In addition to that, it's also possible to make that, when you receive the wood chips, you take the sample for measurements of moisture content and/or ash content. You give that sample to the laboratory. It's possible to make that when the laboratory enters results in its system, we can take that data and put that data directly to the quality reports, and in that way you eliminate some manual work when some employee needs to enter that data every week for quality reports to be able to make the invoicing. So actually those processes are quite easy to automate. And we are ready for that. We have API protocol, and it's only necessary to agree with the buyer's IT systems how we exchange the data. So if you are interested, so you can always ask our people to share more information about that. In addition to that, we started offering for the clients possibility to see all their trading statistics and the actual delivery statistics in Power BI reports. So that means in one place you can see what contracts did you make, how much you have already contracted for upcoming weeks, and how much you actually received of wood chips during each of the week. Also you see what biomass suppliers do you have, and also you can check and compare quality parameters of the wood chips of each participant. So that means you can check ash content, moisture content, and even calorific values. So those values which you measuring, you can see in this report. So it's also quite very comfortable for participants to have such statistics. So these statistics are independent from the previous slides with the automation. So that means this Power BI reports, it's possible to have for both buyers and sellers. If you are interested, also you can always ask our colleagues, my colleagues, to present you and to discuss how you could have such reports. Then we move to some changes to the standard terms of trade. So this year we had, until this year actually, we had the possibility for the buyers, because of the extremely warm weather, to reduce the contract quantities. And actually we received a lot of complaints from the sellers that buyers do not use fairly this option, and therefore we suggest that we will change these rules. We will not allow anymore on the standard contract to lower the contract amount because of the weather, but we will introduce additional non-standard conditions. So that means if the buyer would like to reduce their contract because of the weather condition, they will need to make non-standard trade. And in this case, the sellers will have the possibility to evaluate such risk that the contract could be reduced and offer the price with keeping in mind such possibility. We believe that this way it will be the better balance between buyers and sellers' rights and obligations. Another change in the rules, so also we had quite many cases of the equipment failure in the last season, and if there is equipment failure, the buyer needs to provide urgent market message in our trading system. And this way they provide information that they do not accept some wood chips of the contract for a specific period. So from the next heating season, we will ask the buyers if they provide information that they have equipment failure. They need to provide the message also on the case when that failure is corrected and they start working normal once again. So from now on, buyers will be required to provide 2 notifications of each failure, one when it started, another when it's ended, and also to provide information how much energy wasn't produced because of that failure. Then we have small changes to the provisions for deadlines for quality report submission. So the term is the same, 7 working days from the end of delivery week for the buyers. Then we just clarify what happens when the buyer missed this deadline. So if the buyer missed the deadline to provide quality report after 7 working days after delivery week, we will not be able to apply discounts for non-quality wood chips. So that means if after 10 days you provide the quality report and you see that the ash content was not 5% for SM3 but it was 7, so you cannot apply the discount. And additional changes that if the seller wants to check the quality in independent lab, so he will also have 7 working days to do that instead of 5, which was until now. So we make the term for the seller the same as for the buyer. So that also because the rights and obligations would be the same for buyer and seller. Another change for the trading procedures. So until now, the auctions were the same for Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. So that means that if somebody trades SM2 product for next calendar week, and the auction still continues in Vilnius, so auction also continued in Riga and in Tallinn. From now on, we suggest that those auction will be separated. So that means that if auction still prolongs in Vilnius, it not definitely prolongs in Riga or Tallinn. That means they need those participants who trades in the Riga, they need to compete between each other in order to prolong the auction. So we think that that will make the auction a little bit faster and more productive. And this is the more realities of Lithuania especially and Estonia. I hope that Latvians also will start using those SM3 product. So we will introduce SM4 product. It will be even worse quality than SM3. Ash content could be up to 7%. This product is also related with the Vilnius cogeneration plant. It can burn really bad quality material, and those biomass producers who have such material like bark, we have a lot of discussions who could burn bark. So now we believe that SM4 product will be perfect for the bark and all the other products which has more ash content in it. So that's about the changes. So we just proposed the changes and we will send information probably in a couple next days for all the clients. So if you have some remarks or comments for our suggestions, so you will have the possibility to provide them. And now I would like to go to sustainability questions. We also have some questions and for you. And as you know, in Lithuania from the 1st of May, we already need to use red BP system or some or other international schemes like SBP or SURE to ensure compatibility with RED II directive requirements for sustainability. So I will talk a little bit about our system, but first of all, I would like to know your opinion about that. So first question would be, which sustainability scheme are you planning to use to comply with RED II directive requirements? So there possible answers could be that it could be used SURE, SBP, forest management schemes like FSC, PFC, and national scheme. So we have good news. We were preparing for this presentation a few days ago, so we entered the answer that we would like to see and use national sustainability scheme similar to Lithuanian one. So actually we know that we were informed that your government, Latvian government, just adopted the law which allows Latvian participants to use Lithuanian national scheme. That means Baltpool's sustainability scheme, RED BP, to also show compliance with the RED II directive. So I think it's quite a good news for you, for Latvian clients. Okay, so we see quite a lot of people will use forest management schemes. Some planning to use Lithuanian scheme, our scheme, so that's good, and some short scheme. Thank you. Next question would be about also the same. So the question more for the sellers. Are you aware that in order to supply the biomass in Lithuania, for Lithuanian clients, you need to register and participate in RED BP system from the 1st of May. Okay. I'm glad that all answered already know that, so that's good. So yeah, actually that's true. It's from now on, if the buyer requires RED BP, even if you supplying the certified material, it's still necessary to register to RED BP system and provide all the data required for material used for biomass production. Thank you for your answers. And I have two more actually. Okay. So are you planning to participate in Baltpool's RED BP sustainability scheme? So the possible answers are yes, we are participating or planning. No, as we do not have information enough. Or no, we do not plan to participate. That means we know about the system, but we are not planning to participate. Yes, we see that there are some lack of information about the system. Thank you for answers. We will keep that in mind. So yes, the communication about that system only starts, and our Lithuanian participants also lack information about that system. The legal acts actually was adopted only in the end of April, so we're still working on implementation and communication to the participants. Thank you. And the last question. Yes, are you aware that our question original was that are you aware about project? It was project that in Latvia it will be possible to use RED BP system to show the compliance with the RED II directive. So the question is, are you aware about that? And actually it became the law just today, so it's actually de facto is possible to use RED BP system to show compliance in Latvia. Okay, we see that there is some lack of information about that. Thank you. Thank you for your answers. Okay, so now I will show few slides about RedBP system. Actually, those slides I made in order to answer some questions from already those participants who registered to that system. So firstly, then I will say a few words. So actually, yes, Baltpool created RedBP sustainability scheme, which primarily was constructed to use in Lithuania with the mind while keeping in mind all those Latvian suppliers who are supplying. And then when we have all the Latvian suppliers who are supplying to Lithuanian clients, we showed the principles of the scheme to Latvian authorities, and actually, yeah, they like the system, and now it is already in the law that it's possible to Latvian participants also use the system to show compliance with the two requirements, and they trust, authorities trust our system to do that. Okay, and few slides about that our system. So one of the questions which we hear quite often, so if the clients ask if I already supplying certified material like FSC, SBP, SURE, etc., do I still need to register to RedBP system? So our answer is yes. If you are the supplier and the buyer requires RedBP compliant system, so you need to register to RedBP. But if you're supplying certified material, so your requirements for submitted data will be easier for you. You just need to provide basically the documents that material is certified under specific certification scheme. So that means you provide a VAT invoice, and that is basically enough. Another question is from buyer side. So they asking, okay, so I would like to participate in RedBP system. Can I also require some additional certificates like FSC or SBP on top of RedBP? So the short answer would be that technically it is possible, but we do not advise to do that. Because what happens, not all the certificates are enough for sustainability compliance under the RETURI directive. For example, FSC and PFC by itself, they are not designed to be for RED 2. SBP and SURE, they are designed for RED 2 directive, KZR the same. However, those, in order to be able to show compliance with RED 2 directive under SBP or SURE, the buyer itself, he needs to be certified by SBP or SURE also to be able to show that compliance. So basically, if you choose to participate in RedBP, you don't need to put some additional certificates. As I mentioned before, the sellers, they could provide that certified material. And then this is actually my last slide about the system. So the materials which can be supplied under RedBP sustainability scheme. So basically, on the last column, you see that certified material. So you can deliver a certified material from any origin country. So that means if you certified material by any of the certificates like FSC, PFC, SBP, SURE, you can submit that material to RedBP without any worries. Regarding other materials, so now we have the rules for Lithuanian material. So you can supply even not certified materials from the forest from Lithuania. Regarding Latvian, so we put here yellow mark. So that means that we will be working on including for example, forest material to Red BP, that you could supply the wood chips produced from the forest material without certification, and that would be okay for Red BP. What we need to that, so we need some data which we could check your declaration with some harvesting permits database or so on. So that's our plans. And another very often question, so how the reliability of the data in Red BP system will be ensured. So we chosen some additional scheme which we use for our timber trading in Lithuania. We ask, so you will declare a lot of data. If you declare some certified material, that's okay, it's already certified, we will not check that second time. But if you supply some material which was not certified, that means, like, for example, from the non-certified material from the forest, so then in the end of the year, we will ask you to provide some report under our instructions for the auditor. So that means you don't need to audit your financial accounting. You just need for the auditor, that means person having auditor's license, to make procedure which we write in our instruction for the auditor. That instruction is that we ask auditor to check if all those entries which you enter in our Red BP system, that means how much material you purchased from one or another person, if that information in our system reflects the information in your accounting. So this ensures that we do not see your accounting information, and we don't need that. All the prices, etc., they left in your accounting. We just need that the auditor would confirm that all that data is correct and in compliance with your auditing information. So this is how the information will be checked in our Red BP system. So thank you very much. We still see that there are no questions, so if you will have any questions, you can ask us by email, or my colleagues, which you have phone numbers. And now I would like to invite the third speaker, so Igors, to tell you more about the situation in all 3 Baltic states in the materials market. So, Igors, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andrius. So, thanks again for the previous presenters, to Vaidotas and to Andrius about the information about what happens in Lithuania. And my short task for today is to give a little bit more overview about the region, what are the trends, and what is happening. So maybe a few words about me. I am working more than 15 years in the Wood Products Research and Development Institute in Latvia. We have created a price monitoring system for the Latvian roundwood and chips market. And also for 3 years, I am making quarterly reports about what happens exactly in the wood chips market in Baltic countries, not only Latvia, but all 3 countries together. Again, very short information what I will present. Firstly, I will show historical information about how big changes were in the energy wood trade flow, both in local markets and the countries together. So, and the last part of the presentation will show actual trends in all three countries, because it looks that even if we are quite close each to other, but in real life, the price level and the trends are different. They are not the same. So, now let's go to the general data about the trading. So I have prepared for each country quite easy to understand short of charts. You see quarterly volumes about for wood chips and wood pellets import and export. Red is import is red because it's quite so it is not very good, because in our times it's better not to have any import and to be absolutely independent. And the export is green because we are making other countries green. Or okay, it's joke, just because export is good for the economics. So let's go to the figures. We see that Lithuania really have very big import volumes of wood chips. In 2021, Lithuania imported almost 600,000 tons of wood chips. Mainly import was from Belarus. And the export of wood chips was quite low. It was less than 200,000 tons. This means that all imported chips mainly were consumed in the Lithuania. And if we speak about the pellets, historically volumes of pellet import were not very high, and the export of wood pellets also was not very high, and it was something about 500,000 or 600,000 tons. So if we speak about the Lithuania, we can conclude that Lithuania was very dependent for the wood chips import, and more or less independent in the wood pellets trading, because they were exporting more than importing. In Latvia, we have a completely different story. Here you can see that of course, in 2020 and 2019, we were importing a lot of chips. The maximum volume, annual volume, was almost 1.2 million tons. But even in 2021, we have started to reduce the import, and after the war was started, we almost cancelled import volumes from other countries. I have got also data for this year. You see that still we were importing about 25,000 tons in the first quarter, and we have checked what it is the source of this import. The answer is that mainly these volumes were imported from the Finland, and some volumes were imported from the Sweden and Norway, but it's mainly Nordic countries. I think that in next quarters, these volumes will be even lower, because the prices on the market are not as high as in the winter, and the import from the Nordics will be not economically reasonable. If we speak about the export of wood chips, very interesting and very strange and very good maybe data is that actually in this year we have reached maximum export volumes per quarter during last 5 years, even without any import. This means that we have very good mobilization of wood resource harvesting and management of forest residues in the forests. So even without any import, we are still very reliable supplier, and we have all volumes that need our buyers. And if we are going to the pellet, import and export, you can see that in 2020 and 2021, we were importing quite big volumes of pellets. They were coming from Belarus and Russia. Last year, we have reduced these import volumes, and now if we are importing something, these volumes mainly are going from the Estonia, and I think that it is some kind of deals between one big company, internal deals in one company. And if we speak about the export of the wood pellets, the results, of course, now are a little bit weaker comparing with the previous years. In 2022, we have exported only 1.26 million tons of pellets. It is less than in previous years because the maximum export volumes were above the 2 million tons in 2021. The reason is that we don't have re-export from Belarus, and also in the last quarters of last year, some pellet producers didn't have enough resources to run on full capacities. But even after all restrictions and sanctions, we have strong positions, and we are keeping export wood pellets export on very high levels. So it was Latvia, and let's go to Estonia. For Estonia, I didn't put any import charts because historically Estonia was importing something about zero, both from Latvia, both from Russia or Nordic countries. So import is absolutely not important for this country. And we see that in 2021, and 2022, total export volumes of wood chips from Estonia were growing. And also the wood pellets export was expanding. Yes, and now you can see little conclusions or some summarizing for the export of energy wood from the Baltic countries. You see that in last year, it was 2020. In 2022, we have exported more than 3.7 million tons of wood chips and 3.4 million tons of wood pellets. So this means that our region is still net positive in export, and we still can supply reliable quantities of all kind of energy wood, and those volumes are not small. So we have quite a big share in deliveries to Nordic countries. So it's not 100,000 tons. So we are exporting millions of tons of wood chips and pellets. And also, we have to understand that in these charts, I have showed only the traditional numbers for the energy wood, but we also are exporting not less than 4 or 5 million cubic meters of pulpwood. And nowadays, we see that industries like pulp and paper or wood panels industries, they have a competition with the energy sector because the price of raw material is very close, or sometimes firewood costs are higher. And that's why if the prices for pulpwood will decline, we can use these logs in energy sector not paying transport costs, and those volumes will be available for the energy industries. Now a little review about the consumption in our countries. I have got the statistics from all 3 countries about consumption levels in district heating sector, in household sector, and in the industries. So you see that for the Estonia, in solid cubic meters, now they have reached the consumption level of 6.4 million tons solid cubic meter, and we have a very quite good growth during 2021. Growth mainly was noticed in the district heating systems. But the next year, 2022, it was a very interesting year because the statistics shows some things that we were not expected to see. I have to say some words about Estonia, that main part of electricity in this country at least 10 years ago were produced using the chalet oil. Now this share, of course, is a little bit lower. It is 80 or 85%, but the share of this resource is very high in electricity production. Also 3 years ago, 5 years ago, we noticed that Estonia decided to switch some part of consumption from the chalet oil to the wood energy resources, and the Estonian president have said that the oil chalet era is over. It was 4 years ago. So it was the plans, but the reality is not going together with these words. If we see the consumption statistics for fuels in Estonia in 2022, we see that the share of wood chips, not share, but volumes of wood chips have been decreased, and the share of oil chalet was increased. Absolute vice versa, comparing with the plans. Of course, we understand that the general situation was changed, and this country was have to switch to local resources because oil chalet is 100% domestic resource, and in the situation which is very close to the war, it is very clever solution. And we have seen similar trends also in Germany. They have switched to the coal because they have their own domestic resources. So the situation is going a little bit not in the direction to be more green, but in the direction that we have to use local resources. For Latvia, picture is more clear. So trends still are very positive. We have got quite good increase in consumption of energy wood products in 2022 and 2020. Data in chart we see 2021, but also we feel that the last year's figures also will be much higher, and the forecast for the next years also will be positive, because we have completed a little survey about new projects of district heating systems started to be in construction in Latvia during last 6 months, and we have a list for at least 10 power plants which are under construction now. Of course, main part of these plants are quite small, with the capacities from 4 to 7 megawatts. but we also one big large-scale project with this 48 megawatts, and we estimate that in next heating season, most part of these projects will start operation. Maybe not in September, but during the heating season, and this will increase the consumption of energy wood in Latvia at least for 10-15%, and maybe a little bit higher. So the total forecast is positive in terms of volume. So the consumption in Latvia will grow. For Lithuania, we have heard today that country will start operation in the Vilnius cogeneration plant. It will be in the end of this year, and it will force the local consumption trends again. So we see that it was a quite big increase in consumption in 2021. Year 2022 was more or less stable, but this year will give additional consumption, because we estimate that total capacity of new plants will be around 200 megawatts, not including electricity, and this increase is much higher comparing with the Latvia, where we see that new capacities are something about 126 megawatts. So Lithuania is transforming to the hot place in our market, and we see that it could be very hot season in next 1 or 2 years. And now let's switch to the part of the presentation with the energy wood prices. Thanks Baltpool for providing data for wood chips prices in your country. So I have put this information together on long-term chart, and we see that now prices have reduced very rapidly, from almost 50 euros in fourth quarter to 30 euros per megawatt in current times, I mean for the firewood chips, and 21 euros per megawatt for wood forest residues chips. So prices have been declined because the demand, of course, now is very low. Nobody wants to run the heating in April and May, and there is a little bit situation of oversupply. But I want to highlight that this picture is not the same in all Lithuanian trading systems. I mean that, okay, in district heating sector, prices are very low. But if we check the prices for the industry, I mean wooden plants which are producing furniture, wood-based panels, we have seen that yes, really, prices, for example, for firewood, they have declined a little bit during first quarter. And the minimum of the prices was in the end of the April. In May, we see that some companies have added additional 5 euros to the firewood prices, and I think that now the bottom is already passed. For Latvia, in general, picture is quite similar, but there are some differences. Firstly, in general, prices are a little bit lower. I think that it is a minus 5 or 7 euros comparing to the Lithuanian numbers. I mean, in the heating season. Now general price level is, of course, decreasing, but the decrease is not as fast as in Lithuania, where we see that prices have dropped almost twice. In Latvia, decline is about 30%, and the reason is that the district heating sector in Latvia very often use long-term contracts, and price is fixed for all heating season, or more or less it is indexating by the market trends, but those indexes are not as fast as spot market changes. So in general, prices are of course are low, but also we see that there is some unsold quantities in stocks, but maybe it's also normal. And very important to say that in Latvia we have not only consumers not only in district heating sector, but we also have very strong pellet producers. So I think the consumption of energy wood in pellet production sector is even higher than volumes which are going to the district heating. And I have put the chart with the prices for bulk cubic meter in the industry. And we see that here really prices have dropped very fast and very deep, from almost 30 euros per bulk cubic meter in November to 15-16 euros per bulk cubic meter for the firewood chips now. The reason is that starting the February, pellet producers understand that they cannot sell all pellets that they have produced, and they have started to reduce purchases, and also started to implement some technical stops and education weeks. So all kind of reducing the capacity of the mills, and this caused the oversupply of wood chips. Here is the chart with the firewood prices, I mean roundwood prices, and you see that of course prices have been declined until the March, and in also already in April we have got stable prices. Stable, I mean, if we take all Latvian regions together, but if we looking more deep to the each certain region, we can notice it that in one region prices have been already gone up. So I think that those prices now are on minimum levels, and they will not have a further drop in the next months. And also for Latvia, and not only for Latvia, but also for Estonia and Lithuania, this chart will be more or less similar, because we have to see what happens in the pulpwood sector. You remember that during last spring, in our countries, it was very tough competition between Nordic pulp producers and local pellet producers, because they all were fighting for quite similar quality logs, and after the pellet producers have increased the prices for firewood, and those prices were higher than pulpwood, we understand that pulpwood logs are going to the pellet mills. After some time, pellet producers were increasing the consumption of pulpwood, and in these times pulp exporters decided to rise again pulp prices, and we have these steps, at least 3 or 4 steps of increasing both firewood and pulpwood prices. So those markets are very connected, and now since the January, we see that the demand for pulpwood is reducing, and if we speak about the April and May, some companies have already not only decreased the prices, but also suspended the operations. And this means that we will see the oversupply of pulpwood in next month. And this could influence prices for all low quality assortments. So we have to look in the competing segments that it is possible that they will help us to get more cheaper resources, but it will be the question of next month. If we speak about Estonia, you see that even in the first quarter of this year, official costs of wood chips were very high, and this is due to the trading system that in Estonia, I think that larger share of the contracts are on the long-term basis, and they are not changing very fast. These levels are high. Even now, if we see the Estonian state forest trade statistics in April, the prices for firewood were above the 55 euros per solid cubic meter, and the general level of the energy wood prices still is very high. If we speak about the long-term contracts, if we speak about the short-term contracts, in April, we have seen that some companies have put very low prices for the firewood. It was 34 euros, but in the May, they have increased these prices because there was no demand, no supply with these price levels. So, but in general, Estonia is with more calm market, but the level of the prices is quite high. Now I will try to make small conclusions about what is happening in our region. So the first very important factor, which is green, because I think it's positive, that the total demand from the wood industries, I mean pulp and paper and wood-based panels industries, is much lower comparing with the previous years, and this will release the pressure on the pulpwood prices. So I think that it is a positive factor, and we will see changes on the market due to weak demand of the wood industries. Another thing which is, I think, positive, but of course I'm afraid of the nature of these changes. In Latvia, we have restrictions for the spruce logs harvesting due to bark beetle, because our government and agencies have noticed that in some regions in the center of the country, the quantity of bark beetle infected logs is very high, and to stop the activities of bark beetle, they implemented to suspend the harvesting in spruce forests. I'm not sure that it will help very much, but I think it will help. But anyway, if this bark beetle infection will have additional forest, so additional forest volumes will be damaged. This means that in the third quarter, some volumes of damaged wood could come to the market. We cannot say those volumes be big or small, but those volumes will be. So it's a big question, but if the volumes will be noticeable, of course, it will reduce the price of low quality wood. So it was the positive factors. Neutral factors is that, as I have said, that it looks that in the May bottom price levels all have been already reached, and since middle of the May, prices for firewood started to increase a little bit. And the same situation is with the wood chips, but a little bit different is that now in April and in May, some wood pellet mills are under construction or under service time, and they are not demanding roundwood from the market. And negative sides and negative questions or problems could be following. I think that one problem is connected with the low activity in soundwood production sector, because the demand is really slow, and we have seen that production volumes of sound timber in Latvia have been decreased for 20-25%. This means that we will get less sawdust, and this means also that pellet producers will have a lower supply of sawdust, and this could make some limitation on production volumes, or it will give increase in sawdust prices. So we have to be careful in this question. And the second question is that is connected with the forest owners' activities in general, because after very hot period during last year, then forest owners could get almost 90 euros for firewood. In some cases, they are not, they don't want to sell anything now because prices have dropped, and we need some time to adjust forest owners' dreams with the reality. So, but it will give low demand, lower supply of all kind of roundwood in this year. So we have to be careful in this item. Yeah. So if you will have some questions, you can put them now into the system, and we will try to ask to give an answers. But if you will have some more questions, you can write to us. We are running monthly reports about prices, roundwood prices in Latvia. And also I am making quarterly reports about the country's roundwood market, roundwood and energy wood market. Yeah. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Igors. Very good insight and statistics. So thank you for participating in this event and sharing your statistics with our participants. I see that there is no questions for Igors. So, and no other questions for Vaidotas or me. So that's all for today. Thank you for participating in this first hour event for Latvian and Estonian clients. And I hope to see you again soon. See you. Have a good day.